Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Um, yeah. We're not getting right to the music. We're gonna watch some Tube first. We're gonna watch some of the Tube. smoke a bowl or 2 or 3. Just hang out. It's kind of just the plan. I figured since this is how I would spend my morning anyways, might as well just spend it with you guys. What do we want to watch? Let's watch the Eggy Fish video. Best and worst guitars of the year.
Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to another video. Happy New Year, and I hope everyone's having a great start to 2025. So I'm filming this intro after editing the rest of the video. So before we jump into this one, let me explain. Essentially, our internet couldn't be bothered to work properly for, well, pretty much the entire month of December. Fair enough, I guess it's the holidays. Incredibly frustrating, but so I just embraced that as a sign to take a much needed break and to take the time to recharge with friends and family. I hope all of you were able to do the same and you're feeling rejuvenated both mentally and physically. So now we're back, and while the rest of this was filmed a few weeks ago, I've only just managed to finish editing this video. If you hear me talking later like it's not the new year yet, now you know why. You're not going crazy. So in the calm before the NAMM storm of new gear announcements in just a couple of weeks, and while retailers are trying their best to clear out the remaining post-holiday inventory, let's take a closer look at the best and the worst guitars that last year had to offer. Now, since I'm just a dude ranting about guitars in the spare room, not a retailer, I didn't get to try nearly everything that I wanted to or that you guys wanted to cover. So if I missed your favorite guitar brand, well, it's probably not personal. So smack a like on the video if you're going to enjoy it. That massively helps the channel gain the algorithm's favor. Better late than never. These are the 2024 Ag Awards. Past Hunter, I'll throw it to you. First up, best looking, and I have to go with the Vola Oz RV TNC. Good God. I'm blaming this guitar for starting the bolt-on theme that seems to have occurred on this usually mainly single cut focus channel this year. Look at this. That purple figured maple top is undeniable. It's not a veneer either, but a proper solid figured maple cap. The figuring, the saturation, then the transparent pickguard that protects the almost PRS style top while still letting you bask in all its glory. Incredible. Quite a few honorable mentions for this category this year, actually, starting with Fender's American Ultra 2 series. These anodized pickguards are awesome. The look and feel are clearly modern, but they're subtle enough for the Ultra 2s to maintain that traditional Fender vibe. Perfect fit for Fender's super modernized classic series. Next honorable mention, holy crap, PRS has just gone nuts with the SE line in recent years, exemplified by the Custom 24 quilts. You can't even get quilt maple tops on standard USA core production models, right? So these are straight up wood library vibes with the matching headstocks, especially now that they're starting to use the proper PRS USA control knobs and switch tips. I mean, come on, that looks properly dentisty as fuck. Love to see it. And you know, I couldn't get through this category without mentioning at least one single cut, the EC 1007 Baritone Evertune. What if Black Beauty, but 26.5-inch baritone scale length, 7-string with the matching black and gold Evertune? Absolute perfection. Oh yeah, extra jumbo stainless steel frets and Fishman Fluence Moderns. I mean, come on now. Then, most surprising, for me, that was the Strandberg Bowden Essential. Puzzle piece guitars, they still look so fucking bizarre, and especially that twisted rhombus of a neck, that does not look like it's made for human hands. I was so surprised that Strandberg asked my Les Paul playing ass if I wanted to try one, and surprisingly, it's actually really quite comfortable. It's a lot to explain, so I'll just leave a link to my full video in the description that you can check out after this one. The TLDR is, it looks like it shouldn't, but it actually makes so much sense when you pick it up. Honorable mention, I have to give a shout out to the Fender 70th Anniversary Antigua Strat case. Holy fuck, it's so orange, gloriously vintage. Then another Strat honorable mention.
Case
the first
was
one was
fucking
literally
beautiful.
a meme because it was just an amusing beginner guitar that is it looks like it shouldn't, but it actually makes so much sense when you pick it up. Honorable mention, I have to give a shout out to the Fender 70th Anniversary Antigua Strat case. Holy fuck.
I am just a sucker for orange, but that is a fucking beautiful case. I think too, what does it for me is the fact that this guitar is like gray. This gray and orange just looks fucking phenomenal together. Friend name. You.
Guitars in the spare room. I'm not a retailer. I didn't paper. I'm a huge fan. Holy fuck, it's so orange. Gloriously vintage. Then another Strat honorable mention. The first one was literally a meme because it was just an amusing beginner guitar that somehow became a $1,000 collectible. I still cannot believe Squier actually decided to make the Hello Kitty Strat a good guitar, genuinely good guitar this time. Fair play. And then the last honorable mention, Guild Guitars Revival. They've been bought by Yamaha, and decades after it should have happened, Kim Thale of Soundgarden finally got his signature Polara after he almost single-handedly blew it up in popularity, appearing with it on numerous guitar magazine
finally got his
at Soundgarden's
signature
peak.
guitar.
I cannot believe that Guild actually finally did this. Solid way to announce their comeback and to mark the return of US-made Guild Electrics. Now, this one hurts because I love the brand. I've got a strong affinity for them, but for the category of biggest bust, behave yourselves. Epiphones inspired.
This might be the best deal for a drum machine
behave
on the
yourselves.
internet right now. This Korg drum log used to go for $5.99, then it was $3.99, but now you can get this for $2.99 plus free shipping only at the Reverb outlet.
By Gibson Custom line just hasn't held up to the hype thus far. On paper, I'm a huge fan of these collaborations with the Gibson Custom Shop, you know, American Electronics, proper mother of pearl inlays, Gibson open book headstocks, but from the ones that I've tried at least, consistency is still all over the place. Some of them are genuinely great, nearing Gibson USA quality, but the majority of the ones that I've had the privilege of picking up, very really underwhelming to straight up terrible fret ends, parched fingerboards, the same inconsistencies really that have plagued mainline Epiphones for a couple of years now. And while that's understandable for mass-produced guitars at affordable price points, expectations are just different when you're charging near $1,500 after tax. Again, I really hope that they can shore up the quality of these because on paper, Gibson Custom Shop accurate specs that don't cost both of your kidneys, very cool. But at these kinds of price points, you know, well into four figures, they can't just look the part. I will always root for Epiphone. My G400 Custom was my first real guitar that I bought with my own money. Again, on paper, this is exactly what people want. And there's so many cool, obscured additions that they could add to the series. There's so much potential here. Really hoping they live up to it in 2025. And then dishonorable mention, this goes to Squier because as amusing as matching Hello Kitty headstocks are, damn you Squier for dropping the best headstock shape. Next up, best amp, and there really haven't been too many high profile amp releases this year. Like last year you had Rev's 10th anniversary Rev Generator 120, there was Mark Tremonti's long awaited PRS MT 100. This year, I guess you had the Bogner Snorkeler reissue. Is that even out yet? Mesa Boogie brought back the Mark II-C+, the Metallica amp that is super finicky to dial in, but neither of those are new amps, and I also can't speak to how they actually are in person. So I'm gonna give this to the best amp that I got to try for the first time this year, and that was the Engel Fireball 100.
Oh God, I want to fucking try one of those amps.
But holy shit.
Those are cool. Really fucking cool.
Engel amps are so funny, man. They have the most intense names: Fireball, Powerball, Savage, and you expect them to only be good for these mammoth high gain tones, and goddamn, they do that very well. Beefy while also super tight and articulate. I've used an Engel in some way, shape, or form in pretty much every single demo video for the last 2 years because that Engel flavor of high gain is my current favorite. No relation, sadly. But they also have these beautiful, super crystalline clean channels.
See, I didn't even know that. I thought they were more just less
And Engel was kind enough to send over an entire palette of their amps to try out. I love them all. The Powerball 2 is another incredible one I only got to try this year. What an amp, but the simplicity of the Fireball won me over. I feel like it doesn't get the hype it deserves because it came out a while ago, and Engel historically hasn't had the most consistent distribution or visibility in the US, but it's a monster of an amp and so ahead of its time it competes with modern amps released today. Super versatile, deceptively feature-packed, and it just sounds so damn good. And then honorable mention goes to another high-gain classic that I only got to demo this year. Everything they say about the EVH 5153 Stealth 100 watt is true. Yes, it's a monster. Yes, it has weird, unexplainable quirks with the gain control that leaks into other channels and somehow works in its favor. And yes, the blue channel does, in fact, hold up to the hype.
The fact, I know I got a little distracted here by this, but I paid a little over $2,000 for my Randall, and I'm seeing these fucking things. They're not even really that like. So I used one for 2,500. This one's used, right? Or is this an? Fuck out of here with your fucking shit. God damn it. No, that's. Are you kidding me? Is these actually cheaper than my fucking Randall? It's the first power. I suppose the power. It's a Fireball. It's 100's first Fireball, isn't it? That's why it's not a Mark II or anything. No, fucking get the fuck out of here. Features. Channel. Specs, here we go. That's what I want. EC83 is oh. So do you get to pick which one? I don't get what that means. Oh, okay. I see though. So you could get the looks like you can get it. Which one is this one then? That was the add to cart 30. No other options you're not gonna give me? Yeah. I wish. Then you get the fucking 40th anniversary edition Fireball 100 with the red cap matching everything for fucking $4,000, dude. That's fucking kind of a good deal. Oh, it's got racing stripes too. That's kind of cool. It's kind of cool.
Explainable quirks with the gain control that leaks into or visibility in the US, but it's a monster of an amp and so ahead of its time it competes with modern amps released today. Super versatile, deceptively feature-packed, and it just sounds so damn good. And then honorable mention goes to another high-gain classic that I only got to demo this year. Everything they say about the EVH 5153 Stealth 100 watt is true. Yes, it's a monster. Yes, it has weird, unexplainable quirks with the gain control that leaks into other channels and somehow works in its favor. And yes, the blue channel does, in fact, hold up to the hype. Interesting that for how modern the Stealth looks and how modern its reputation is, it's not super compressed. It still has an old school, raw, uncompressed quality. Great amp, and I love that I finally got one added to the stable to use in future videos. And another honorable mention to the PRS Archon Mark II. Always wanted to try an Archon Mark I. They were just so expensive, made in the US. Apparently, it's not quite the same as the first version, but it's still a super mean amp, and very much in that similar flavor of high gain as the MT100, like modernized rectifier-esque. And just like the MT100 or even the 5153, modern without being super compressed, so it still retains that dynamism, that raw old school character of the amps that possibly inspired it. Fairly simple 2-channel amp with a very streamlined feature set, so simple to dial in, and in my view, one of the best deals for new high-gain tube amps on the market right now. Now, best unique feature. And this is always an interesting one because guitarists can be pretty rigid with tradition, so brands have to get very creative, towing the line between innovation while also respecting the past. And this year, my favorite unique innovation was on Paul Gilbert's Ibanez signature Fireman FRM 350. Not only is this Ibanez name actually manageable, and not only does this prove that the Les Paul Custom Black Beauty tuxedo look can make literally any guitar shape classy as fuck, but it is also the world's first guitar that comes with a built-in slide magnet. This is actually sick. There's a magnet in the guitar for your slide, so it's right there when you need it, and you can put it right back when you don't, instead of chucking it into the crowd like Kirk does. It reminds me of the bottle opener on Bjorn Gullat's Jotun, like a feature with actual utility, just instead of granting you access to the liquid courage to nail that solo, or at the very least, just not care how sloppy it was. Talking about nobody in particular, we move. This gives you the ability to go in and out of slide mode at will. And it's invisible. That's so cool. Every other guitar is obsolete. Now, give an honorable mention to the Squier Paranormal Offset SJ. Dude, this combination of a Telecaster bridge with a Jazzmaster neck, then you got controls for series parallel and phase switching. I have never seen another guitar with this unique electronics configuration, and it's in an affordable Squier. Definitely deserves an honorable mention. And another honorable mention in the same vein, the Vola JZ FRO. This
Grammarly doesn't just help you with polishing your emails, it also lessens the mental load of replying to emails. When you start replying to an email, click this button to tag in Grammarly. You get a quick summary of the original email and a few suggested prompts based on what you received. Click on a prompt and Grammarly drafts a relevant reply for you in seconds. Download Grammarly for free and see it for yourself.
P90 single P90 pickup combo. Tell me how they managed to find a pickup configuration that's both super traditional vintage vibe and that no one has put in a production guitar before. super interesting take on the triple single pickup layout, and with the push-pull to engage or disengage the middle pickup, modern functionality hiding in plain vintage style sight. On to the next category, best budget guitar, and for the, I don't know how many years running, probably for the duration of the series, but again, I'm gonna have to give it to a Harley Benton, specifically the ST Modern Plus. Because I mean, let's run through the spec list. You got Tesla HSS pickups, you got locking tuners, a Babix tremolo, roasted flame maple neck, stainless steel frets, glow-in-the-dark side dots. Only little sore spot is the Laurel fingerboard on some of the colors, but it's also got a compound radius, so let's be real, that's a heck of a spec sheet for $350. And a ton of color choices. You've got the classic solid colors, you've got flame tops, you've got metallics, lefties too. This is an impressive number of flavors. There's bound to be something for everyone. And if you're somehow not familiar with Harley Benton, welcome to the channel and to Guitar Internet. They're the house brand for Thomann, the largest music instrument retailer in Europe. I mean, literally, this is... they are the town. Thomann is the town. So every guitar is inspected and set up by the QC team in Germany before it's been shipped out to customers. So Harley Benton is not your normal budget brand. Now, full disclosure, up until very recently, I had a consulting role with Harley Benton, helping them design and spec certain specialty guitars and to pressure them to make lefty versions of everything. I've since resigned from the role. No bad blood, no drama. Still great friends with the team. We did so much cool stuff together. Just wanted to eliminate any potential conflicts of interest. Blah, blah, blah. Business boring. But so the ST Modern Plus was one of the last non-signature projects I helped develop, and I'm very happy to see how well they came out and how many players are enjoying them. Honorable mention for ESP's best kept secret, the GLP CTM from Grassroots, ESP's Japan exclusive budget brand. Grassroots mainly focuses on affordable versions of traditional shapes, even very inspired by artist designs like this Strat with a fully scalped fingerboard for $400. But the thing that piqued my interest was obviously way cooler because it's a single cut, but not just any single cut, an outrageous pink flame top Les Paul custom that I got shipped from Japan for about $300. Open book headstock and everything. And my God, just incredibly nice fretwork. I cannot comprehend what ESP must do to their frets and fingerboards to make them so damn shiny and smooth. But genuinely, this budget guitar has one of the nicest feeling ebony fingerboards I've had on the channel amongst any import guitar at any price range. Kind of reminded me of how my ESP standard fingerboard felt the first time I took it out of the case. Like, what the fuck? Bought a $300 guitar? How? Just fair play to ESP Japan. And another honorable mention, but first I have to thank you guys for being so damn patient. The next version of my Harley Benton signature finally dropped, and I'll admit, I was very tempted, but I'd feel like an ass making my own signature the winner of any category. We knew we needed to go all out for you guys, so not just one model, we dropped a whole new collection. First was a 5th anniversary reimagining of the original purple ashtop version that sold out in 48 hours so quickly that even I didn't manage to snag a production model before they were all gone. The specs are just ridiculous. 25-inch scale length for that extra little chug factor, roasted flame maple set through neck with a thin U profile, extra jumbo stainless steel frets on an ebony fingerboard with highly rolled edges and glow-in-the-dark side dots, brushed chrome hardware to match the satin finish and give it a nicer feel, exclusive custom voice Frostwell Seraphim set. The bridge is particularly awesome. Alnico bar magnet with ceramic flankers,
not judgmental, but like kind of judged.
Precise
I've
chalk.
seen
And
this
this time we've used speed
nerdy
mounts
looking
with
kid,
little
because
rubber
it was a few
grips to
years
make them
ago.
easier to
I
adjust
seen
and access
him
the
when
push-pull
he
coil
was
splits.
younger
The
too, so
biggest
he looked
addition
even
though,
more just
quite
like,
literally, I somehow
you know,
managed to convince
and then I heard him play, and I'm
that
like,
a
what the
28-inch
fuck?
scale length baritone version for even lower and more powerful chugs
Just
was
kind of unassuming.
absolutely
Same
necessary.
with
Harley
Stevie
Benton
T,
was
just
a little
fucking
skeptical
shred
at
your-
first,
shred your
but
head
luckily
off.
this time I was able to get one of each from the production run before you guys beat your own record and sent everything into back order in under a day. You guys are insane. Love it. And making these premium, normally out-of-reach specs and high-end playing experience accessible to as many players as possible, and to do so in a unique way, those have always been the goals that have driven the design of these models. So while $450 for these specs is already pretty bonkers, we also decided to make an even more reasonably priced standard series version. Same specs, same premium playing experience as the custom, Only differences are the satin black and seafoam green colors. Honestly, I'm really partial to the seafoam green, especially with the roasted maple neck and the brushed black hardware. So good. Satin black 28-inch baritone isn't bad either. Of course, totally unbiased opinions, but how could I not include these? Literally all of them are back ordered, so I can't be the only one. And while I may not be consulting for Harley Benton anymore on other models, the signature line is still very much alive. And I know, I'm sorry, I've been talking about these so much. It's just, I genuinely love how they came out, and it's so cool seeing them being played in the wild and seeing what you guys are creating with them. So thank you so much for your support. I can't wait to show you guys what the future holds. Just so stoked there's so many of you enjoying them. Also, achievement unlocked. I am flattered. Next category, best value level guitar. That weird middle grounds that in 2024 I'm loosely defining as anything from about $600 up to $1,000. Not as affordable as budget level, but more attainable than the 4 figures the highest spec imports from the major brands are now priced at. PRS SE always seems to take this category, and this time is no different. The PRS SE Sandblasted CE24 was the most impressive value level guitar I got the opportunity to try in 2024. I loved the standard satin version's raw workhorse vibe, especially for $499, and this has identical specs, except for one. See if you can spot it. Was always jealous of Europe's pedestrian-friendly infrastructure, but also their exclusive sandblasted top SEs. Well, now America has achieved sandblasted parity with Europe. The craziest part though, less than a decade ago, sandblasted ash tops with this level of depth and quality was a rare premium feature you only found on multi-$1,000 custom shop guitars. This PRS SE though,
yeah, that's sandblasted look. I really
incredible.
like that.
Even just a couple of years ago, this quality of sandblasted top at this price level was just not possible. And it's always awesome when formerly super exclusive features become more affordable and more accessible to more players. I love the style of top, man. Not only does it look super cool, but also even in a mass-produced run, every guitar is unique. Every top is different. Your guitar is your guitar. I mean, look at this. No two tops are the same. And actually, this works as a great segue to shout out today's sponsor, Sweetwater, and their awesome guitar gallery. And it's still pretty surreal. I've been a Sweetwater customer for almost 15 years now, so it's just very cool that they're now a partner of the channel to bring you guys bigger and better content. And looking at these sandblasted models with such dramatically different tops is a great example as to why Sweetwater is my regular go-to for gear and guitars. The guitar gallery is a phenomenal feature for picking out the exact guitar you want, the look, the weight, instead of taking a gamble like you might do on other sites. Recently, I did a video on the 70th anniversary Antigua Stratocaster, and as you can see, even if the differences aren't quite as dramatic as they are with the sandblasted tops, every guitar, even within the same series, is unique. Personally, my preference is a more contrasty burst, so I actually used the guitar gallery to pick this exact one. And as far as puke burst goes, this one's pretty acceptable. They've got a massive January clearance event going on right now, a ton of deals and discounts, so I'll leave links to more details on all the gear we're talking about down below in the description. My general affiliate link is also down there, which you can bookmark for later, for when you're picking up strings or picks or whatever. It's an easy way to support the channel, and it lets Sweetwater know that I sent you. That way we can put together more awesome, and judging by how long this is taking to film, very comprehensive guitar content for you guys. So really appreciate you've decided to do that. Thanks again to Sweetwater, and let's get back to guitars. Okay, so now best single cut. And while this channel is normally known for being a kind of cult of the single cut support group, somehow I only managed a full dedicated demo of one single cut in 2024.
Only one.
So I know what my New Year's resolution is gonna be. So rather than pick one winner for the category, let me highlight 3 single cuts I've been seriously considering picking up that dropped this year. One on the modern side, one more traditional inspired, and one kind of in between. The first Sweetwater product page I've been visiting way too often is for the LTD EC01 FT. And at first glance, it's like, oh, so LTD have finally made a workhorse, stripped down, traditional style Eclipse Jr. That's pretty cool, I guess. Then you look at the spec sheet. Ebony fingerboard with extra jumbo stainless steel frets. The humbucker is an ESP exclusive Seymour Duncan Custom 14.
That's pretty
essentially
cool,
the
actually.
unholy love child between a Seymour Duncan Custom and a Black Winter. And the Tone Pros bridge has been recessed. So you've got the Tune-o-matic you expect to see on a single cut like this, but with a more modern low profile feel, more along the lines of a Floyd or a Hipshot. So workhorse, yes. Stripped down, not really. Such cool sleeper guitars, especially in these vintage colors. And the second Sweetwater product page I've been frequenting an unhealthy amount of times is for the Heritage H157 Custom Core. Dude, I have been waiting for Heritage to revive this model. Quick background on Heritage if you aren't familiar with them, but when Gibson completed the move to Nashville in 1984, some employees that didn't want to relocate bought the building in Kalamazoo and the tools inside and continued using the same tools that made those fabled 59s to make Heritage guitars. Now, a few years ago, they were acquired and went through a bit of a reboot.
Oh, fuck, those aren't that bad priced. That's what that's used, but yeah, it's like normal price range for a good LTD. And normally I wouldn't like. It's probably because I just don't like Gibson, but I like that. That's pretty. Dude. Pictures aren't very good quality. It's on Sweetwater. Oh, maybe they are. Maybe I just gotta. This looks blurry to me. Oh, he's got. Should go on here. So they got a couple of them. Why is this $500? Why is this one $500? Where's the look at that, like that blotch in the middle. It's like almost more imperfected, but it's more unique. Yeah, more dark red, right? Oh, where's your? It's like $30 cheaper on Musician's Friend. I bet it is, but you can't. This one feature right here, the fact that I can look at the one I want. But what's the? Oh, there we go. Go further down. Oh, the specs. It's right here. Solid body. It's That's mahogany and it's fucking $600. 3-piece mahogany. Thin U. Set neck. 22 extra jumbo. Fingerboard inlay. It doesn't tell you what it is. I'm guessing they're nickel frets, but that's okay. LTD tuners. Bridge pickup is an ESP LA. Oh, that's probably another. It's got a split. For fucking. Description. Why is this? This only is it was this the same skill length? Is this a I didn't even see the specs here. Go back at this. Two-piece. Yeah, it's a Gibson scale too. So it's basically a Les Paul Jr. but it's an LTD, which makes it like kind of cool. I like that. That's if I were gonna join a punk rock band, I'd get that. $500, dude. Like, I want to get one just to like do a review on it. It's a fucking beautiful guitar for fucking $500. Granted, it is only 2.2 frets and Gibson scale. But holy shit, if if your kid was fucking looking for a guitar that was, like, granted, I can't say that this is a good guitar or not, but I can't say that I picked up an LTD that I didn't like. That's crazy. I'm gonna give that up. That's
Reboot, they consolidated the line down to, of course, yes, stripped down. Not really. Such cool sleeper guitars, especially in those vintage colors. And the second Sweetwater product page I've been frequenting an unhealthy amount of times is for the Heritage H157 Custom Core. Dude, I have been waiting for Heritage to revive this model. Quick background on Heritage if you aren't familiar with them, but when Gibson completed the move to Nashville in 1984, some employees that didn't want to relocate bought the building in Kalamazoo and the tools inside and continued using the same tools that made those fabled 59s to make Heritage guitars. Now, a few years ago, they were acquired and went through a bit of a reboot. They consolidated the line down to pretty much just the 50s Les Paul Standard style H150 to focus on quality. And my God, as amazing as my Gibson Custom Shop Murphy Lab is, my Heritage Custom Core Artisan Aged is even better. But like, dude, I'm sorry, but the Les Paul Custom look and feel with the ebony board is just perfection. Rosewood with trapezoids, I mean, it's fine, everything's fine, I'm fine, but now that Heritage has their own tuxedo back in the lineup at the custom core level, which is like their Gibson custom shop equivalent, so as super premium level US built guitars, they are not cheap at all, but they are noticeably less painful on the bank account these days than their Gibson custom shop counterparts, especially if you're like me and you love how comfortable properly Relics guitars are, you know, the ones that feel like they've been riffed on for decades. Like $5,000 is a lot, but it's not as much as $7,000. But yeah, so anyways, from my experience with Heritage's quality so far and how the H150 Custom Core was one of the best premium tier traditional style single cuts I've ever played, the only flaw was no ebony board, and these have ebony boards. Well, what's so bad? And the last single cut I've been trying to find an excuse to justify picking up is the Gibson Les Paul Modern Studio. And I'll be totally honest, this is all I needed to see. A white studio with an ebony fingerboard like the ones from the 90s back in the lineup. I did not need any more information. Because like there are a billion Les Paul standard and custom knockoffs at every price level, but no one knocks off the studio. Why? Look at this. It's so clean. This is one of the cleanest looking Les Paul aesthetics ever. Then I actually looked into it and it gets even cooler. Feature-wise, the idea is these are more affordable studio tier workhorse versions of the Les Paul Modern. So it borrows specs like the Modern's neck cutaway, the 4 push-pull knob control layout for coil taps, phase switch, and pure bypass, satin open pore nitro finish too, which I actually love the feel of. You know, the thin finishes, it's like there's less between your fingers and the instrument, and it's cool. Just like with Fender and the Ultra 2s, it's part of a trend. Gibson is starting to embrace and expand their lineup of old school modern spec hybrids. And yes, the Modern Studio is more accessible than the $3,000 very nice looking Les Paul Moderns. $2,000 for a studio seems like a lot though. And it doesn't even have locking tuners. The sticker shock makes me a bit sad that Epiphone didn't add the compound radius with the new colors, because that purple flame with the natural back is a great combo, but they didn't. And it's also not a white studio with an ebony fingerboard. It's just too cool. It's so clean. Next, best artist model. And somehow, I didn't manage to upload any 15-minute ADHD hyperfocus fueled deep dive demos on any particular signature model either. I'll tell you guys, rough year. So I'm not gonna pick a winner for this category either, and instead just mention a few highlights that I'm seriously tempted to swap gear for. First one is Bill Kelleher of Mastodon's Royal Shiva. And yes,
That
maybe it's
thing
got
is
one too
fucking
many
pretty
colorways,
dope.
but hear me out on this one. It's a production version of his ESP Custom Shop Double Cut, which a lot of us thought was inspired by his bandmate Brent Hines' 12-string Custom Shop First Act. Bill later clarified that it was actually inspired by his own 9-string First Act Custom, which itself was apparently inspired by a Silverburst Yamaha SG he'd been playing before that. So a production version of an ESP Custom inspired by a First Act Custom inspired by a Yamaha. Got it. So it's like the Royal Shiva is the latest refinement of a design that's been evolving for 20 years through multiple guitar brands, like just this massive collaboration. So inspired by guitars from Mastodon's past, modernized with Kelleher's latest signature pickups for Mastodon's present sound. I love when there's an interesting story behind a guitar's design, and the Royal Shiva's lore is some of the most interesting of any 2024 signature. Then Tom DeLonge's Starcaster, and from what I could tell, going into 2024, this was Fender's most hyped upcoming release, which was wild because the Starcaster was never a popular guitar, probably because that is a pretty freaking ugly guitar. But Tom's pop punk variant, single Seymour Duncan custom with one volume knob, banished to 2 time zones away, that big 70s Strat headstock on a roasted maple neck, especially in surf green and in shell pink for extra pop punkiness. I mean, they're still kind of ugly, but that's part of the charm. It only adds to how cool as shit these
That
are.
actually does
And
look pretty cool.
Epiphone Adam Jones 1979 Les Paul Custom. I love 70 spec Les Paul Customs. They get so little love from Gibson and Epiphone though, and all of a sudden, people have decided Norlands aren't shit, and prices have gone nuts. Even Norland Husks, no hardware, no electronics, are going for thousands of dollars. No, Norlands are trash, remember? Stop, I can't afford them anymore. But so a proper 79 style teardrop Silverburst custom from Epiphone that's got the 70s specific 3-piece maple neck with a volute, and is part of the Inspired by Gibson custom series. It's got the open book headstock, an ebony fingerboard with real mother of pearl inlays. Yes, and if you're a Tool fan, it's actually got Adam Jones' preferred Seymour Duncan pickup combo, so the Epi is arguably closer to his actual specs than even the more expensive Gibson USA standard. And besides no nitro finish and no pancake body, probably the closest thing to a real 70 spec custom under $2,000 these days, especially if you're looking at Silverburst. I mean, it is getting stupid. And by the way, it seems that 100 million% of viewers have not subscribed, which is very stupid and definitely very real number. So if you've made it this far in the video and you're still enjoying the content, here's your quick reminder to do that if you haven't already. We just hit 215,000 subscribers,
That
which
was funny.
is insane. Let's see if we can get to 250 this year. Another one in the Inspired by Gibson custom series, Dave Grohl's DG335, his signature hybrid of the ES335 and Trini Lopez in Pelham Blue, and probably the most requested Epiphone signature of all time, finally dropped. Before the hiatus, he was actually playing his Epiphone live too. Always cool to see. You know, with Tom DeLonge's Starcaster being one of Fender's most high-profile releases of the year, Wolfgang Van Halen's SA-126 ushering in a new era for EVH, the ES Supreme becoming the first semi-hollow in Gibson USA's highest-tier series, and even Slash got his first signature ES335 that he's probably played at least a couple of times.
Semi-hollows
after
are
the promo
coming
shoot.
back.
2024 was the year of the semi-hollow. And even in this crowded field of high-profile semi-hollow releases, to me, the DG335 still stands out as the most recognizable and most iconic of the bunch. And our final category, the best guitar of the year. And my personal pick,
I have dealt with mental and emotional struggles for a very long time. I was also dealing with the fear of embracing negative emotion.
the best new guitar that I played in 2024 was the Vola JZ FRL. I know, not a single cut. What has this channel become? Just throw it in the bin. No, but as I was going back and thinking about all the guitars that I'd played, that I'd covered, that I'd tried, this is the one that I kept coming back to. Sweetwater's gonna be so mad they don't even stock Volas, but you can find them on the Gear Exchange. I've been a big Vola fan for a long time. The specs, the color choices, the overall Japanese level build quality, and especially now when everybody else is raising their prices, they've dropped them. And I've said it in quite a few videos, there is an obsession with perfection in Japanese guitar making culture. So with Volas, you're getting a Japanese handcrafted guitar with all the quality that entails and with top tier specs for significantly less than what Epiphone Greenie will cost you. Unreal. Now, my only personal struggle with Vola is I'm not really a double cut or a Strat fan, which is the vast majority of what they do. So when they introduced this new JZ shape, this was the first Vola guitar that really spoke to me. They fucking didn't tell me there was a shell pink though. That speaks to me even more. And I love that it's so clearly vintage inspired. Like it's able to channel that familiarity, that traditional vibe, and yet it's definitely not. And at the same time, it is very much not a copy of anything else. It's fresh but familiar. It's distinctly Vola with the angles and general design approach. And then you actually pick it up, and I mean, that roasted flame maple neck, stainless steel frets, aluminum lace side dots, and front inlays, Goto locking tuners, Goto tremolo. Just like what I was saying about the unique pickup configuration earlier in the video, this is a very modern guitar hiding in plain vintage sight. And relative to how crazy some guitar prices are getting these days, you have to say, pretty reasonably priced in terms of those super high-end premium tier instruments. Quite a few honorable mentions in this category, starting with the Fender American Ultra 2 Telecaster. And like, the Ultra series is so interesting. I'm not sure if it's Fender's self-proclaimed most advanced series, seeing as unlike the older Ultra Lux series, stainless steel frets are nowhere to be found on the Ultra 2s. That being said, the Ultra 2 series occupies a very interesting and specific niche that no other series really shares. Most guitars fall firmly into one of two general categories, either super modern, usually metal, or faithfully vintage-inspired tributes to instruments from at least half a century ago. Those are the broad categories, right? And obviously there are guitars that blend the two, but for those, there's no agreed-upon standard spec list. It's all over the spectrum. And usually for these blends, they don't go as far modern as the Ultra 2 series does. So this Telecaster, right? I mean, it's got the anodized pickguard, but the classic Tele pickup layout, I mean, at a first glance, it's very clearly a Telecaster. Then specs, you've got locking tuners on a D-shaped satin quarter-sawn maple neck, compound radiused fingerboard.
That thing's kind of cool.
Those are features you're used to reading off of a spec list for a modern metal guitar. So you get that kind of modern, super quick feel and slick playability, but it very clearly wasn't built primarily to be a modern chug beast. Although, because it is this channel, obviously we put it through the chug test and it passed. So yeah, very cool, modern skewed spec blend. Personally, it's my perfect, relatively traditional Tele. And I love how the colors of the Ultra 2 are inspired by contemporary sports cars.
Put
So it's
some
like a
new
modern
strings on
parallel
this
of how they
fucking
started using all of those colors in the
X-Tone.
50s and 60s.
Haven't get this
Famously, they
guitar
were
in
lifted from
love
cars at the time. So again,
little too
just
long.
fits with the theme of the series. Super modernized take on an iconic vintage theme. Next honorable mention, and technically this one came out in 2023, but I only managed to demo it in 2024, but it's the Schecter Made in Japan California Classic. Now, both Both Schecter and ESP were owned by Hisatake Shibuya, who sadly passed away only a couple of months ago. And so Schecter Japan has been around for many, many years. And much like how ESP Japan has its own wacky world that we just never see in other parts of the world, Schecter Japan is also very much its own thing. Exclusive shapes, built in Japan, and until the Classic Series, exclusive to the Japanese market. And these clearly have a very different vibe to the Schecters you're probably most familiar with. Whoa, look at those Schecters, or these. Oh my god, those are some Schecter-ass looking Schecters. EMGs, check. Red quilt, check. A version with more strings, check. And an aggressive amount of abalone, big-ass gaudy check. Schecter Japan, though, very classy, very proper. No abalone, no EMGs. Still very eye-catching, though, with these bright, saturated figured tops. Almost, dare I say it, dentisty. It's as the series name suggests. It's less metalcore and more, classic, old-school style high-end guitars. I'll be honest, I really wasn't familiar with Schecter Japan until I played this, and as tends to be the theme with Japanese-made guitars these days, my god, the build quality. And I'm gonna have to look more into them, because they do some pretty sick stuff. And also, some really weird shit. You know what? I guess someone somewhere was asking for this. But either way, very interesting, and it's super cool that we finally get to experience this side of Schecter outside Japan. And a final honorable mention to another guitar that I only managed to demo in 2024, and that is the Valiant Mola Black Smith. Now, if you watch my channel a lot, you know I'm a massive fan of Valiant guitars on multiple levels, and I love my Mola Pink Jupiter. It is one of my favorite guitars of all time. And now that I'm thinking about it, that is probably the catalyst for this plot twist bolt-on era for the channel. The Smith, though, is obviously a very different side of Valiant guitars. And I'll be the first one to admit, I was not instantly sold on this carved top, single cut offset hybrid shape. In fairness, it's kind of like the Fender Meteora, where it works much better in some colors than others, and that is objectively too many different fonts on one headstock. But the first time I picked it up in person, plugged it in, god damn it, Valiant makes such fucking good guitars.
I've been hearing that Valiant makes really good guitars for both people on the interwebs, but you never know until you try something if you like it or not.
Killer specs, go to Locking Tuners, single bare knuckle Warpig, ebony fingerboard with flame maple binding, and the head luthier literally has a background in aerospace engineering, so they use the aerospace material Duralumin for all the metal parts, like the bridge, the control knobs, the back plates. You know, the guitars have these little signature details that no one else does, because who else even thinks of doing that? And Mola Pink, Mola Black, those may or may not be sneaky winks and nods to my channel logo, because we collaborated on these, so, definitely not biased at all. But the reason I was happy to collaborate with them, I was a fan of the guitars pretty much literally from the moment that I picked one up in 2021, and just instantly blown away with how good it was. And Chris Robertson of Blackstone Cherry had the exact same reaction, literally. One unplugged cord, and he was like, yeah, I'm buying this from you right now. And even beyond the guitars, Valiant has an amazing story. The people who work there are badasses. A cruise missile explosion damaging their building couldn't even stop Valiant from making some of the best top shelf custom shop tier instruments I've ever played, and they do so in
that's right.
the most
They're
challenging
Ukrainian
Valiant's in
company.
name, Valiant's in nature. And besides needing to sort their fonts out, this guitar is just a monster. All right, I'm gonna stop rambling, but if you're gonna be at NAMM this year, do yourself a favor. Please check out the Valiant Guitars booth. Try the guitars out. You'll see what I mean. A massive thanks to my incredible supporters on Patreon, who are the reason these videos are possible. Their names are up on the screen right now, because literally without you guys, the channel would be very dead. If you're enjoying the content and would like to join them in directly supporting the channel, you can become a patron for bonus extras and to see your name up there too. And this was an exceptional case, just because honestly, I really needed that small break. But this is not a sign of things to come. Videos will not be this late all year, nor will they be this long, because oh my god, what the fuck was I thinking starting off the new year with a 40-minute video? This sucked to edit. But actually, if you think about it, how best to enter the new year than to refresh ourselves on where the guitar world left off in 2024, and while clearance and blowout sales are going on. Unintentional, but if you think about it, kind of all worked out. Yeah. That's the angle we're gonna go with. Social media, merch, and links to the Discord server to get your questions answered in a future video are in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I will see you for the next video.
If you feel it, if you feel it.
That was a cool video. There's some pretty cool guitars on that. The guy, he like you said, he like single cuts a lot. Let's see here. What other video should we watch while I'm stringing this bitch up?
Imagine being an endorsed artist dedicating 15 to 20 years to a brand you love, only for them to blacklist you forever over a single comment that you made on Facebook. That's exactly what happened here with Gibson, Mesa Boogie, and Fluff. Now to get a full picture of what's happened here, let's take 2 seconds to recap on everything going on with Mesa Boogie. Now if you're a guitarist or pretty much anyone in the recording industry, you've probably heard of Mesa Boogie. They started all the way back in 1969 and they revolutionized heavier sounding guitar amps, especially for rock and metal and punk music. But it was really the 1990s and early 2000s when Mesa Boogie became iconic. Back then, it felt like every rock, punk, and metal band had a Mesa Boogie amp inside of their rig. And at the center of it all was Randall Smith. He was the founder and main man behind everything to do with Mesa Boogie.
My fee for repairs was, I charged $1 a minute to work on a Fender amp, and the average bill was $7.
Welcome to Tube Town. You get a close-up of that beauty there, see this? That's the dual rectifier.
And for over 50 years, they were doing their thing out of Petaluma, California, building amps, coming out with new models, repairing amps, and overall building an incredible legacy in the guitar world. Now on January 6, 2021, Gibson officially acquired Mesa Boogie. Randall Smith was 74 years old, and after 52 years of dedication, it was pretty clear that he'd probably just stick around at Gibson for a couple more years before retiring. Or so we think. Now that gets us up to speed with Mesa Boogie. Let's take a look at the YouTuber Fluff.
Hello one and all, my name is Ryan Bruce, my friends call me Fluff, and today on Wrist Beards and Gear,
Ryan Bruce, better known as Fluff, has been a staple of the guitar YouTube scene for the past 13-14 years. I took a look at his first YouTube videos, and funnily enough, out of the first 8 videos in 2011, 6 of them were demos of Mesa Boogie amps. Now anyone who's followed Fluff knows that he loves Mesa Boogie. I actually went through his channel and tried counting how many Mesa Boogie videos he's had. I stopped counting at 51 videos. He clearly just has a mega ton of Mesa Boogie content. And apart from making YouTube videos, Fluff was also a guitarist in the band Dragged Under, and there he was an officially endorsed Mesa Boogie artist. Now I don't know Fluff personally, but in the world of guitar YouTubers, he's kind of on the Mount Rushmore of OG guitar content creators. He started all the way back in 2011, he was making great content back then, he's still making great content now, especially if you're into heavy rock, metal, punk kind of music. And from what I've seen and from everybody that I've spoken to, Fluff seems to be genuinely one of the good guys in the guitar space. He's built a reputation for himself, he's pretty down to earth, talented, professional, all those sorts of nice words. I can't ever recall anyone saying a bad word about him. And for somebody with a platform of his size, it's kind of rare to be universally liked. So that pretty much gets us up to speed with Mesa Boogie and Fluff in general. Let's take a look at what Fluff told us on his FAQ video this week about what happened with him and Gibson.
Are you no longer playing boogies or a boogie artist? I am no longer with Mesa Boogie. Basically the story is, I made a comment on the Mesa Boogie group confirming or stating that Randall Smith had been fired. The comment was up for about 20 minutes. I get a call. Ring. Gibson are not stoked on that comment. Can you please take it down? So I take down the comment. It was up for 20-30 minutes. The next day, Guitar Bomb uses a screenshot of my comment, writing an article breaking the news that Randall Smith had been fired from Mesa Boogie. And they were very, very upset with me. And they then told me that they would never work with me again. And they said, we will no longer support anything you're doing over there. That's slightly heartbreaking. It's fine. It's super unfortunate. It bums me out that it has to go that way. But also looking at my Mesa Boogie stuff in particular is like looking at photos of an old girlfriend that you dearly loved or something. I don't know how to explain it. So I don't want to promote them, and I don't want to promote Gibson at all on my channel, which is my choice. It's my channel, and there's plenty of other creators to make all of the content around the new Mesa Boogie stuff. No one's gonna miss my stuff. Totally fine.
Even the first time I watched this, I could see him welling up as he was telling that story. And, you know, should he have posted that stuff to Facebook? Should they have fired Randall in the first place? You know, it's a bit of a tit for tat sort of situation. And, you know, it's not like people weren't going to find out. Mesa Boogie's a pretty big company. Gibson's a massive company. And funnily enough, Randall Smith himself has been posting AMP videos lately. And just this week, he also confirmed that he was definitely fired from Gibson.
I want you to have a really fun summer out here. I only have one rule. Stay out of the basement.
Stay out of the basement.
The next guy we go to is John Marshall, who has a great history with Metallica, and he is the guy that I have transitioned my brain into. He is the leading design guy there now that I've been fired.
It just seems like in one swift move, Gibson managed to cut ties with the man who created Mesa Boogie, and he also alienated one of the biggest advocates of Mesa Boogie in the guitar YouTube gear community. It just seems like a really bad look all around, and unfortunately, this seems to be how Gibson's been operating for a while now, and it just sucks to see. And it really needs to be said, Fluff has taken this like an absolute champion. There are so many other YouTubers that would have done some knee-jerk reaction stuff, made petty videos, possibly threats, passive aggressivism, just the gamut of childish behavior. But Fluff waited 6 months, and it specifically took somebody writing in an FAQ video asking him what's going on with him in Mesa Boogie for him to even bring up this situation at all. And let's be real, when it comes to YouTube, we're in a world of clickbait content, and the man is an absolute saint for keeping this kind of gold story bottled up when he could have easily milked it for views. I mean, isn't that what we're doing now? But honestly, that's what makes the whole situation even more heartbreaking. I would honestly love to see Gibsons reach out, swallow their pride a little bit, and make things right with Fluff. You know, these sort of situations happen. It's all part of life. It's all part of growth. Both parties definitely have some sort of fault in how all this went down. But there's no reason things need to stay this way. Gibson, if you're listening, you know, we get it. Probably shouldn't have posted that comment to Facebook. You probably shouldn't have fired Randall Smith, but you know, what's the point of blacklisting Fluff for life? It's incredibly petty, kind of achieves nothing, creates bad blood in the community. It would be such a great resolution if you reached out, patched things up, and brought Fluff back into the Mesa Boogie fold. He was one of the biggest advocates, and honestly, even in that video, he still spoke highly of Mesa Boogie gear, even after all of that stuff happened.
The new amps that they're putting out are awesome. They sound awesome. You guys will see a video that I shot at Sweetwater for the new rectifier that I shot 6 months ago. It's a great amp, and yeah, you guys will enjoy it.
And before we wrap this up, I want to talk directly to my fellow content creators here, and this isn't just for guitarists or gear reviewers. I think this applies to anybody working with brands in any niche. If you take a look at this, it's all a bit of a lesson on why I think you shouldn't sell your soul to a single brand or company, because apparently even 20 years of loyalty can go out the window in a second. And look, luckily Fluff is pretty well established. He has a ton of options when it comes to guitar and audio companies to work with. And I guess that is something that I want all of you to aspire to as well. This is probably a bigger conversation that I could do a dedicated video about. So if you want to see that, let me know in the comments below. So yeah, the whole situation sucks. Hopefully Gibson can turn things around. But regardless, Fluff, you're an absolute legend. And to anybody else out there working with brands, know your worth. Don't let yourself become a puppet, because once you start going down that road, it's way too easy to get thrown to the wayside over something as small as potentially a single comment made on social media. As always, if you stuck around to the end of the video, you're a legend, and I'll catch you on the next one.
To me, a guitar is an instrument with 6 strings on it. If you got 6 strings on it, I can play it. I couldn't figure out the difference.
Got 6 strings on it, I can play it.
On today's video, we ask the immortal question: why do guitar players like 7 strings?
Cause more string, duh. Cause big string go duh.
Hey there kids, it's your good buddy Uncle Ben, and as many of you guys know, I have been a 7-string player for a very long time, going all the way back to my very first 7-string that I got way back in the early 2000s, which was a Schecter Diamond Series Gold Top. Now back then, I was curious to check out 7-strings because so many of my favorite shredders and bands were using them, but since then the popularity of 7s has exploded, and there are so many more bands using them now than we had back in the day. But what exactly is it about 7 strings that make them so damn cool? That's what we're going to talk about today. As always, today's video is brought to you guys by everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page, patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. People are calling it the greatest place on the entire internet, and I'm repeating them. Sign up today for all kinds of goodies like downloadable tabs, backing tracks, bonus videos, and so much more.
Hi,
this
baby
week,
girl.
everybody who supports my channel, even for just $1 a
How'd you
month,
sleep?
is going to get access to a very special extended and ad-free cut of this video with a little bit more of everything. So don't delay. Sign up today. I'll see you there. Over my many years as an hombre de siete, I've collected quite a lot of really rad 7-string guitars that I'll be playing in this video for you guys. I'm going to be playing those through my Synergy rig today so I can get a little bit of everything tonally. Now let's get into it.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, Daddy will get you something. I'll be right back, guys. I gotta get her started. I'll leave this playing for you.
Many moons ago, I had a badass instrumental progressive metal band called Arc, and we all played 7 strings. I'm still really proud of the music that we did together, and throughout this video, I'm going to be playing to you guys some of my favorite riffs from that band. If you all like what you hear, be sure to check out our old SoundCloud page. I'll put that down there in the video description so you can check out all of our tunes. Reason number 1, it's a guitar with more guitar on it. I think old YOLO Mom Jeans really nailed it when he said,
"How can less be more? It's impossible. More is more."
Typically, a 7-string is tuned just like a regular guitar, but with a low B string on the bottom. Although it is worth noting that back in the day, whenever Steve Vai and Ibanez were working together on the Universe to be the first production solid body 7-string guitar, Steve initially wanted a high A string, but had trouble with him breaking all the time on him, so went for the low B on the bottom instead. Now, of course, there's a little bit of a learning curve whenever you first pick up a 7. I know for me it lasted about a month or so, I think, before I was totally comfortable on it. But the good news is, it's not really as hard to get used to as you think it's gonna be, because you're already familiar with the B string. You have one. That guy right there, right? So if you know that string pretty well, you already know the low B. If you know that this is a C note, well then you know this is a C note. If you know this is a D note, well, now you have 2 of them. Just takes a little bit of getting used to. You'll get by it fast. I did, and I was homeschooled.
We made USAA for homeowners who like being ready. That's why we have safety tips for things like fires, home security, and USAA insurance just in case. USAA, what you're made of, we're made for.
Reason number 2, you can go more lowlier without losing the ability to go more highlier.
I don't know what strings I want to put on this thing.
Ever since the days of Black Sabbath, guitar players have been tuning down more lowlier for access to those subterranean sounds, but at the expense of losing high notes when it's time to go meedly. And you gotta have your meedlies.
Go with the.
But whenever you play a 7-string, you
not
get
even
all that
slinkies.
additional low end like you get whenever you tune down.
Might as
without
well.
sacrificing
Gotta use
any
it
of
at
the
some
high notes
point.
you have in standard tuning. That means without switching guitars, you can play something that's tuned super low like Slipknot, and then immediately slip back into something in standard, like Say It Ain't So. That was a lot of S's. Reason number 3, Steve Vai. That's it, just Steve Vai. A lot of people act like the nu metal movement was the first thing that put 7-string guitars on the charts, but in reality, the very first chord on one of the most badass hair metal records ever, Slip of the Tongue by Whitesnake, starts off with a huge low B courtesy of Steve Vai and his brand new Ibanez Universe. Hell, even Rhett Beach used a 7-string Universe a little bit back in the Winger days. Vai's landmark 1990 solo record Passion and Warfare showed the world at large what could happen when a 7-string guitar landed in the hands of a very capable and creative guitar player. Yeah, I know that was actually played on 6 with the harmonizer and all that stuff, but whatever, it works for the video. And simply put, Steve Vai designing the Universe with Ibanez back in the day put 7-string guitars in the hands of more players than ever. So if you like your 7 strings like I do, say thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Reason number 4, expanding scales and chords. And it doesn't even really have to be hard, because if you're ever in doubt about what to do with Big Brother B, just ask Little Brother B. Because for a lot of the time, it's just going to be a matter of copy and pasting whatever the high B is doing down there on the low B. The different positions of the minor Panasonic scale are a perfect example of this. Let's take like our good old-fashioned A minor pentatonic here, right? Now, if I wasn't sure about what to do here on the low B, like maybe I didn't know what notes were next or whatever, I could just look at what the high B did and do the same stuff down low. That gives me a more expanded scale shape and I don't have to shift around positions for it, like this. And the same goes for your chord shapes too. For example, you could take this big old D5 open position chord here and add in a big ass bass note to it just by looking at what the B is doing and putting it on the low B. Now we have a big old D bass note. That big D5 is the reason to buy a 7-string. Access to that D is really important. Kind of reminds you of somebody I know. Tell your mom I said hi. We can do the same thing with our C chord shape by adding in a low C note on the same fret that our high B string is on, down low. It's a really cool sound, and you don't have to like relearn guitar to do it. Just look at what you're already doing on the other B string and copy it. Really cool sound. I use that all the time, and so do the...
I'm getting back on track with Factor. Fresh, never frozen meals that are ready in minutes.
Factor is over 40.
Number 5, the Jazz Boys. Remember earlier in the video when I said that Steve and Ibanez introduced the first solid body 7-string to the production guitar world? Well, that's a really important distinction to make because way back in the day, Gretsch had a George Van Epps signature 7-string that they made for the Jazz Boys and all their expensive chords. Back in the days when Jesus was riding dinosaurs, George Van Epps was using his 7-string guitar to add in really cool moving bass lines and extensions onto his chords. Hell, even before that, there was like 7-string acoustic Russian guitars used for Russian stuff, I guess. 7-strings are nothing new, guys. I'm no jazz boy myself, but if you want to hear some great 7-string jazz, I recommend listening to George Van Epps, Bucky, and John Petrozelli. Both those guys are insane. There's a lot of great dudes out there. Charlie Hunter, that's another amazing extended range player. Check them out, not me. Reason number 6, that's got to be nu metal, especially Korn. Korn really did jumpstart the entire 7-string guitar thing for a bigger audience than it had ever seen before. There's just no denying it. I remember seeing those early music videos back in the day where they were playing the really trashed universes, and then later on they got like the really slick LA Custom Shop Ibanez RG7s. They looked amazing. And back then the universe was still the only production 7-string that you could get your hands on. But because Korn made it so massively popular, Ibanez responded by creating the early RG7 line, which was kind of like a universe, but a lot more affordable. This one that I have in my mitts right now is a 1998 RG7 620, which has a lot of the same appointments as a universe. I did the swirl paint job on this one myself. But the early RG7 strings, as well as the AX series, I know were a lot of people my age's first 7-strings that they ever had. That was the only alternative back then. And it jump-started this huge production 7-string craze back in the day. Then you saw companies like Schecter and Jackson and ESP start to produce their 7-string line as a response to that because Korn made 7s massively popular. And Limp Bizkit too, because Wes Borland played 7s there for a while. Only he did it really weird. He had like a low C sharp, I think, on bottom, and he used 2 of the same high strings on top for like a weird droning sound. Really unusual. I'm going to say that was even a huge part of getting your average listener used to hearing guitars that were tuned down that low. I mean, now it's pretty commonplace to hear guys playing, 8 strings and beyond. But back then, I remember that was the only thing you could hear on the radio that was tuned that low was Korn. So, like it or not, nu metal
on the
plays
radio.
a huge role in shaping
I want to live where you
7-string
live,
guitar
dude.
world and the world of today.
You don't get to hear that kind of. We didn't even. That. Get up. Look at this fucking big old boy. 24 plane. That's a G string, dude. Holy shit. The fucking cable.
Reason number 7 is they're a very versatile studio tool. It's not just about super brutal riffage or prog metal shredding. You can use the extended range of a 7-string guitar for all kinds of cool stuff. Some 7-strings feature extended scale length for extra clarity there on the low end, like this Schecter John Brown signature. This is a 27-inch scale, 7-string baritone. That extra clarity and scale length puts me this much closer to having the sounds of like classic Fender 6-string basses or those like Dan Electro Longhorn baritones that you hear on a lot of old like spaghetti western recordings. And that's what I've done with 7s in the past. I've had friends that have done fun little film projects that needed soundtrack work, and I've used a long scale 7-string with like a tremolo effect on it to get those classic western soundtrack vibes, like this.
That's fucking kind of groovy.
Reason number 8 has got to be the bearded wizard himself, Mr. John Petrucci of Dream Theater. From his early days with Ibanez to his partnership with Ernie Ball Music Man, Petrucci has been a 7-string mainstay for like decades now. If I'm not mistaken, the first time that John played a 7-string was on the Change of Seasons EP, and since then he's used them on his solo records, on the Liquid Tension Experiment stuff, all the Dream Theater albums. He has been a huge figure in the world of 7-strings, and he's no doubt inspired countless people to pick one up themselves. So thanks, John, you handsome, bearded, swole son of a bitch. Let's go slightly deeper cut on the list here for a very important band in the world of 7-string history, because it wasn't Dream Theater that did 7-string metal first, it wasn't Korn. Before all the others, there was good old Morbid Angel coming at you from Florida, bringing the sludge, bringing the slime, and bringing the 7s. For an entire year before Korn's first album came out, people had been hearing 7 strings in metal from Covenant by Morbid Angel. And the way Trey and the guys in the band use 7 strings has always been really cool to me, especially in the world of death metal where everything is all about being super fast and super aggressive. They use 7 strings for this really sludgy, low, flubby sound through those old Marshalls and stuff. It sounded so cool. Because you'd still have like the really technical fast stuff taking place down here on the top 6 strings, but then for like a breakdown or something, they'd go down even lower to this like subterranean range where it just gets slimy and sludgy and just brutal. Totally underrated and underappreciated in the history of 7 strings. You gotta give credit where credit is due. Morbid Angel was doing this stuff before so many other people. And the last one on our list is going to be the world of slapping and tapping. Okay, let's be clear about one thing. Adapting the slap and pop bass technique to guitar is nothing new. This existed before 7-string guitars. Check out guitar players like Reggie Wooten, as well as Scott Michaud, to hear some absolutely banana slap stuff on 6 strings that was way before we heard Tosin and other guys doing this on 7s and 8s. Those guys did awesome stuff on 6 strings, but whenever you put those techniques onto a 7-string guitar with the additional low end, the fatter strings and everything, it just sounds even cooler. And of course, this really came to the forefront of guitar technique with Tosin Abasi and Javier from Animals as leaders. Tosin and Javier definitely took the slap thing to another level entirely with their use of extremely technical stuff, classical guitar techniques thrown in there, and of course whenever they started playing more 8 strings, it got even more beastly. And now we got guys from all kinds of bands doing that style. Those hunks from Polyphia, tons of other bands are adapting these slap techniques on guitar, but most of us heard it for the first time on the good old 7-string. So there you go, hunks and foxes, a few of the reasons why we love 7-string guitars. But I'm sure I didn't mention your favorite player because there are so many great 7-stringers out there that have inspired me and you guys, like Dino from Fear Factory, the guys from Trivium, Jeff Loomis, Steph Carpenter from Deftones, that hunky boy Angel Vivaldi. Let me know your favorite 7-string player down there in the comments section. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold. And stay tuned for more hot stuff on my channel next week. Now get away from the computer. Let's go play some guitar. Let's click it. More picking.
I gotta say, God, is it so much easier to tuning a 6-string with no Floyd Rose versus all my other guitars with Floyd Roses or 8 strings. I don't know if I can get the intonation right on this even. I think it's pretty much all the way back and it wants me to read the other one. We'll have to mess with it. I'm not gonna do it right now. Wow. Oh, it's a ground problem. Wow. Like, that's really bad. Well, that's not a good sound. Let's get another video going. God damn it.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. My name is Xander Raymond Charles. I am not here to waste your time. This is not clickbait. This is something I'm very passionate about, and I want to genuinely share it with you all, okay? So, as the title of this video suggests, I have a quote-unquote secret guitar tone, and there is something that I've stumbled upon over the last give or take 6 months, and I've used it in almost all of my productions, all of my new songs, all of my original music, etc. So here today is January 10th, 2025. It is release day for my brand new album, Humans Taste Bad, and it is doing so well. I'm so proud of it. These are my best numbers so far. Thank you so much to everybody. Seriously, thank you to anybody and everybody who's checked it out, reposted it, shared it, streamed it, etc. 2025 is my year. And for those of you guys who are on board with me, thank you so much. And to everybody else who's sleeping on me and not really giving the time of day, I do not know what to tell you, man. It's awesome, and it's only a matter of time before everybody else catches up. It is what it is. I'm really proud of what I create. It's unique, it's different. Nobody makes music like I do as it pertains to metal guitar, and it is what it is, man. That being said, what makes it so unique? Why are we here? That's a great question. Well, I have stumbled upon a software instrument as well as essentially a plugin that I want to share with you all. I'm not the first person to use it, but I am very stoked on it. And that plugin is called Serum. I stumbled upon Serum in August of 2024, and that's when I had my real kind of awakening, I guess we'll say, where I really have always been kind of dabbling in industrial music and electronic music and blending it with electric guitar. But in this past summer, that's where I really went like 100% on board with it, and I've really shifted my own creative sound, and I'm really stoked at where I'm at creatively. And a lot of that can be attributed to Serum. And for those of you guys who have heard my tonal shift from like July to August of 2024 and then August into present day on Humans Taste Bad, you guys can hear a lot of the just kind of unique and weird left to center sounds that I've been creating. So all of my EDM drops, all of my dubstep drops, and all of my guitar tones have been using Serum. Let me explain. Let me give you a song example. Here is Everyone Has a Plan, song 2 off of Humans Taste Bad. If you listen very closely, there's this kind of weird, deep, rumbly texture sitting underneath the guitar tone, and it is not a bass guitar, it's Serum. And Serum is essentially a synth plugin, just so we're incredibly clear. It's a synth MIDI instrument. So what I do is I'll find a kind of weird, grimy, distinct sound in Serum through all the abundance of presets and or some of the presets I make myself, or like a preset pack that I buy. And then I'll by hand, or one at a time, one note at a time, is I will program the synth track, the Serum track, that follows the exact same guitar line that I've written and recorded for my song. Basically, write a song, write a riff, then I program the synth and have it sit underneath, and it's in more or less the exact same register as my guitar tone. Then from there, I blend the two, and you can't really tell if you're not paying attention that there's a synth track sitting underneath it. But if you listen closely and you know what you're listening for, you can hear it, and then once you know it's there, you can't unhear it. Again, here's Everyone Has a Plan. Here's a perfect example where I give you guys just the synth, and then I bring the guitar back in. So you can definitely hear it, like once you notice it, it's there and it is what it is, right? So what I'm going to be doing in the very near future, today's release day, so I'm not doing it right now, but I've re-recorded Everyone Has a Plan, and it's going to have like a new flair and a new sound to this song. I re-recorded it using this Gibson Les Paul Standard with the best finish of all time, the Fire Gold Top finish that I made myself. And so I'm going to re-record this track, and I've already done it, and I'm going to release it soon. But I want to go into the Logic project, and I want to show you guys I've added 2 new different synth tracks, and I've blended them into the guitar tone. So again, once you know they're there, you can't unhear them, and when you take them away, the guitar tones and the guitar tracks do lose a little bit of oomph or texture, or however you want to describe it. So check this out. So that's it, everybody. Serum. This is not sponsored. This is not anything other than I'm really passionate about where I'm at creatively as an artist and as a producer and as a writer myself for my own music and a ghostwriter. And Serum has really just opened up this whole new avenue of hip hop and EDM and rock and metal music, all morphing into something that is unique to me, and not too many other players do this style, and I'm really stoked on it and genuinely proud of it if you can't hear it in the inflection in my voice. So everybody, that's how I've been coming up with my guitar tones anymore, just blending in regular guitar tones with a synth track, blending them into putting them in the guitar bus more often than not, and then from there, it's a seamless kind of just amalgamation of amazing tones, all right? So I hope you got something out of this video. Like I said, I did not want to use clickbait, or I didn't want to deliver on my promise in the title of this video. I think this is kind of a secret thing that not many people do. I wanted to share with you all, and I hope you enjoyed this video, okay? If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section of what I've had to say today in this video. And go check out my music, man. For those of you guys who are sleeping on it, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's awesome, and yeah, you're missing out. But thank you to everybody who checks it out. I love you guys so much. Love you guys for watching these videos. It means the world to me. And with that being said, I'll see you guys later very, very soon. All right, I'm out of here.
I didn't think this day was going to be a guitar surgery day, but we're doing surgery. See what the fuck's going on with this. Is it just touching a spot it's not supposed to? What the fuck?
See this mystery bass? It's a one-of-a-kind custom build from one of the most exclusive and deluxe bass makers in the world, and it's worth a whopping 15.
Good morning. It is Sunday. No, it's Saturday. I'm not actually recording this on a Sunday. 11th of January. Before we get to the actual rant, in which I get a bit pissed off as always at you or the gear community, but that's fine. Love your gear. That's cool. Or know your gear. That should be a channel. Know your gear, where you learn all about, you know, how to know your gear and set up guitars and stuff. And some bald guy should do it. Yeah, that would be a good channel. Okay, I quickly want to say, I don't know, acknowledge, say hi to all my friends in LA. Perfecto's fine. I know that Phil X, the Philmeister, he's fine. He's actually cooking meals at his home and taking it to the firefighters. He's an amazing human being. I know that a lot of people are not okay. Luckily, so far, only 10 people have died in the fires. It should be less, but 10 it is. Last number I heard was 9,000 homes destroyed. That's we can't even fathom that. Bob Clearmountain's house, where he had a studio called Mix This, and where he mixed some of the, you know, most influential albums of ever, probably. I don't think that's ever going to come back on that level. That's gone, completely destroyed. Many studios destroyed. It's amazing that some organizations, including Guitar Center, apparently, offer to help musicians and just get them gear back. Stephen Slade posted something along those lines. It's very amazing to see the musician community come together like this, and the gear community. Very, very cool. So I contacted some people that I know live roughly in the area. Avi Shabbat, he's fine. Dave Friedman, fine. But the scope of the devastation is unfathomable. And I just want to let everyone know that is roughly in the area or is affected by it or has relatives that are affected, that, you know, I'm not going to do thoughts and prayers because I don't do shit, but I'm sorry. I didn't do it, but still, I want to say that. I will be in LA in 2 weeks. Don't want to go because I think they've got other shit on their plate now than hosting a Anaheim Convention Center Gear Fest called NAMM. I really don't want to go. If there's any way to justify not going, I will, but I probably will go. So, and now on to happier things. Everyone in LA that I know, everyone in LA that, you know, I know, I love you guys. And good morning. Happy Rant Sunday. It's not a rant, but yeah, it'll be, I'll get emotional about this. I want to talk about sound functions, pedal functions, guitar functions up to a degree, but more sound.
Pretty sure.
Since I primarily deal with pedals, let's talk about pedals.
Thritzio is
coffee. I get very amused, but also
a little bit of a barrier.
About
I'm just impatient.
A lot of the forum warriors just discussing that clipping diode over that thing, and does it have to be the Maxon Tube Screamer, or does it have to be the Ibanez? Look, there are some Tube Screamer variants that you put on the desk or the board, and you just feel a bit more comfortable with. That's fine. This time, I'm not talking about perceived comfort and expectation in the gear, which then of course will result in you playing it differently, and the result will be different because of how you think about the gear. We talked about that when we talked about guitar colors, right? Because blue guitars do sound better, which is why this one can't possibly sound good, because ew, look at this. It's a great guitar, but ew. Make it blue, sounds good. It's a fact. Watch that video. So we're talking about actual use. Not, oh, I like that pedal because I always wanted it. Oh, everyone says that the something clone variant is like the best, and then you finally got it and you're super happy about it, and that makes you play and you're just happy because you finally have something rare or something everyone else always coveted, or you're saving up for your King of Tone and then you're getting it imported into Switzerland where you have to then befriend someone in Switzerland that can send it to you and all that bullshit. It's crazy. I'm talking about the functions of the pedals, which, wait. Oh, look, now I'm in focus. Sorry, we still had that on a different setting. Hey, I'm not repeating that shit. Phoning it in.
That made it worse.
I'm talking about functions. And I think that the pedal functions are the same across a huge range of variants. So let's go with a Tube Screamer thing. No, let's go with, no, yes. Let's go with a Tube Screamer. That's the most common thing. What do you do with it? You boost with it? Take that away because that's a different kind of function. But generally, it gives you a bass staff. There's not a lot of low end. But not even that just doesn't even matter. It gives you a low gain, mid gain overdrive / distortion. I know that technically the two are different in terms of how they look on an oscilloscope. Who gives a shit? For me, overdrive is less, distortion is more. And the kind of thing you play with it is a certain part. What would it be? I'm playing a big open chord, okay? I'm plugged into an XFX3 right here. That's now just a jazz chorus, okay? You're doing that and you want it to be bristly, but not too much. So you're looking for a low gain overdrive, right? Or you're doing this. That kind of nice higher, that kind of thing. So you're looking for an overdrive. So I'm gonna go and turn on, I mean it turns in front of the jazz chorus, a Tube Screamer, right? It fulfills that function. I can now make the music that I need to do because I have a sound that will fit in the mix the way that it has to. I need to do this. Right? It does that. Instead of... So it does all these three functions. But now people are like, oh no, the Klon does that amazing... Oh really? That's what really bugs me, because I don't think that the function of what you're playing changes. Yeah, you think about it differently. You think of John Mayer, you think of, you know, Bonamassa, you think of, oh, the Klon's expensive. That's all in the head. But in the mix, in the function of your songwriting and arranging, as an arranging tool, does it change whether you use a Klon or a Tube Screamer? Even though the Klon will have more low end, does that change what you play? Should it change what you play? Where's the Klon? Okay, that is thicker. I'm going to take the gain down to get to my function. I'm not going to even A-B. That's not the point. I want even less gain.
God, that's fucking ridiculous.
The difference between them is completely negligible for fulfilling the function of these parts in a song. Whether I use a Klon and a Tube Screamer, which are pretty essentially different, right? Has no bearing on the song, the hit potential of the song, what the singer will do. The function has been fulfilled. Now you're gonna go and, you know, get your King of Tone and wait for ages to get the King of Tone. Here's a Tone of Kings. Again, this is all a modeling variation. Okay. Need more drive here. I need a lot more drive here. Does this actually have more volume? Come on, it's really quiet there. Yeah, it sounds different. But the kind of part you play with that sound is still that part you play. There's going to be tiny variations, and don't start talking about fucking like, oh, but if it had the 1983 limited edition NOS germanium transistor, then it would have that little bit of a boost at 400 hertz. Yeah, because then you would do what? Play a different part? And it would change the song? What would that change? Fucking nothing! Okay, I mean, I can crank up the drum. Drive here, and I can go to the 808 again, Tube Screamer. Same settings, okay. Yeah, it has that mid push, absolutely. It is a slightly different sound, but you will not play anything different.
That's bad, dude. Like that's fucking. That's broken. Sucks. I want to play this guitar. Oh, shit's fucking annoying. Yup. Oh my god, I feel like shit. I'm gonna fix this ground quick. I know what's going on. I know exactly what's going on.
Because the function of those pedals is to do a certain thing musically. Let's never forget that. Let's never forget that the gear we buy has to fulfill a musical function, right? We're gonna do more. Let's talk about the PXO here. This is absolutely killer. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's got a boost, but it's also very pointy here. You could kill people with this. Ow! Rock and roll. It's got a boost and an overdrive section. Now the function of this is very simple. Phil X has a big Friedman X amplifier, which is a modded 800. And he has a big rock sound. Sometimes he does fly gigs where he goes to a stage where he doesn't have his amp. And there is some kind of amp there. Might be a tube amp, might even be a modeler. In an absolute pinch, he will play through a modeler. With this, he can boost an amp on stage to kind of get his sound to where he needs to be when it comes to, if it's on edge of breakup, he can push that more into a nice rhythm sound. If he wants a kick-ass, saturated 80 type thing, go to the drive. If you want everything, go to both. The function here is to get close to his tone wherever he goes with varying gear. It absolutely beautifully fulfills that function. But musically speaking, that boost is going to get him these open sounds when the amp is already edge of breakup. Could he do this with a different boost? Yes. Has he done this before with a different boost before he had this? Yes. Could he ask any one of the other guitar players that are at that gig, hey, do you have some kind of boost that can kick this amp harder? Yes. Will he then play the gig and be great? Yes. It's good to have this. It's also very expensive, but it's really kick-ass video coming up on the channel. But it fulfills a function, right? And we're so freaking picky about all this stuff. It's like, it's got to be the Klon, but with the limited germanium thing. That just blows my mind. Because are you playing different things? Obviously, if we have a low gain, mid gain, pushy overdrive on the board, yeah, there could be a different flavor. You could stack them, okay. But do you need 4 of them? No, they all fulfill the same function, right? Now, as a boost, a Tube Screamer, fun. You have that in front of a high gain amp, like if you have a freaking Mesa Boogie rectifier, they sound like ass until you take the low end out, which is something you can do with a boost like the Tube Screamer because it pushes in less low end. Okay, well then there are more products that do that function. An EQ could do that. Absolutely. You could set up an EQ, push the level, because that's what you do with the Tube Screamer. Or of course the Horizon something devices drive, Horizon something, whatever it's called. Because it's literally supposed to do that. And the periphery guys, based on the new presets in the Axe-Fx that were made for them, are playing with very little low end so that the bass and the drums have space. Also 3 guitars with a lot of low end would not work. And they're playing 8 strings anyway. Or sometimes. Okay, so let's talk, I mean, amps is literally the same thing. Let's turn this drive off. You can see what I'm doing. It's also not necessary. I don't know. Brit. I don't... here, Brit JM. Let's see what that does, right? I mean, same function as taking a jazz chorus and putting a Tube Screamer in it. Not the same sound, that's not what I'm talking about, but you gotta play the same kind of stuff with it. And if you record that in a great song with a great vocalist and a grooving drummer, then nobody's gonna give a flying rat's ass about what kind of Tube Screamer diodes did you have. That's for the forums and the people that don't even do this. Sorry, people that don't even do this. Maybe sometimes you should do and experience the gear that you have. I'm bitter about this. So this is dense. Because it's a, it says JMP, it's a, don't even know what that means. See, I don't care. I don't care what it sounds like, but that's one of those more dense, rocky Marshalls. Woolly? Absolutely. But what are you going to do with it? Maybe the same thing. You're gonna have a woollier, thicker sound in the low end. I think you'll still play the same thing. When it comes to solo, though, it does change. How much something compresses changes how long you might hold a note. So it really will change the music you do. When it comes to single notes, rhythm playing, it's a pretty good sound there. But let's find out. I don't know any of these. That's a 9087X jumped. Don't even know what that is, because I don't know anything about treble gain, normal gain. Thinner, but okay, yeah, well, it'll do the job. That's an AC20.